Hello.
Can you hear it? Okay, good. Because I don't want it to be too loud. Let me see the chat. Whoever is here right now, say hi. Let us know you're watching. Also, tell me how the audio is because we're both using earphones this time, so
Yeah, we're just checking it
maybe
out, aren't we?
it'll be better. We shall see.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Power of Potential podcast again. This is the place where we, Sophie and I, help you mold your mindset to manifest success through open and honest conversations about real life experiences. There is no fluff. This is just real talk always, because that's how
Real
we roll.
talk that comes straight out.
Yep.
Okay, shall we kick off with, so we've decided that we are going to have a bit of an oracle card pull at the start of our podcast, at the start of each episode, to trigger our conversation. So it's my turn this week, isn't it? I'm going to use the wisdom of the oracle deck.
Yeah, you go ahead.
You know, we both love that.
This week has just been so crazy for me. So many things coming to fruition and dots connecting, and so I feel like that's what this is going to be about.
We shall see. We shall see. Oh, okay.
What do we get?
We got a fork in the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, do you know what? I'll get on to that. This is all about being able to make a decision. And I recently have had lots of chats with different people on my Instagram, in the DMs, about making a decision and not, I'm very aware, and this really does relate to myself. I don't know about you, Brie, but sometimes we can get really stuck in knowing what the right thing to do is. Which way do we go? And this is what this card's all about. It's a fork in the road. It's about, you know, looking and thinking, oh, do I go this way or do I go that way? And that can be really, really difficult. So I'm trying to think of decisions times that
I'm thinking back to this is kind of similar to what came up last week as well. We were talking about, how to push past the resistance involved in making these big decisions.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me personally, at the end of the day, no matter what, every time I've faced a major decision, it always comes down to what is going to actually make me happy. Because I don't know, that's just the type of person that I am. I've always conducted my life based on the happiness meter. If something is really just not making me happy, I have no problems leaving it behind. Because I'm just I really don't care. I just want to be happy. So if this isn't making me happy, that's fine. I need to let it go. And I'm going to go for something that is going to make me happy. But I mean, not everyone is that way. Some people have different priorities, different goals. That's fine. But I mean, figure out what your measure is. What is the scale that you like to measure your own success or your own happiness on? And then just go based off of that and what feels right to you.
Well, I'm gonna speak for all the people pleasers out there, because I am a recovering people pleaser. I still find myself agreeing to things that I don't want to do, and I caught myself out doing it yesterday.
I've called you out too about it.
You've called me out. And yeah, I am definitely a recovering people pleaser. And what that means is, if you're not familiar to that term, it means you just tend to try and please everybody else. It says it in the name, and it can often mean that you are putting yourself at the very bottom of the decisions that you make. And actually, this has made me think of something else. So a while ago, I was studying, and I'd done like 5 years of counselling, and then I'd done hypnotherapy, and I went back to do some further education on counselling. And at this point, I was a qualified hypnotherapist. And I was also working as a teaching assistant in a school. And I was working as a teaching assistant, coming home, seeing clients. I'm also a mum, and I have a young son. And at this point, I was just burning out. Like, I was just I just felt like I was here, there, and everywhere. And I wasn't filling my own cup at all. And I found myself, I'd be sort of at work, like at the school, like daydreaming about what I'm going to do with a certain client and what I'm going to do with this. And then realizing I needed to come home, and I had loads of essays to do for my coursework, and I was getting really behind, and I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do here? What is going to give? And it took seeing a life coach to kind of bring everything to a head. And I was really at the end of it at this point. I was so tired, and I was just not getting any time for myself. And you'll find, if you are a people pleaser, I'm sure you can relate to this, you can often end up feeling quite resentful of everything that you've got going on, because you're not actually fulfilling what you want. You're not actually listening to your needs. But yeah, it came to a point where I was having this discussion with this life coach, and she was saying, well, what I can hear is that you want to be a hypnotherapist, and that's where your mind is. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, what can give here? Well, like, something's got to give. You're going to have to drop something, because you can't do everything. And I'm thinking, well, I can't stop being a mum. I can't stop, I've got to go to work. I need to bring some money in. And she kind of said, do you need this other qualification? Because it was like an extra thing that was kind of added on to my hypnotherapy that I was doing. And I was thinking, well, no, because I've already done like 4 years of this training, and I know I'm doing my job. I know what I'm doing. I know there's always room to learn. But at this point, this qualification was very much about proving, after lots of thought, it was very much about proving to people that I could pass something. And in actual fact, that wasn't important to me. What was important was making a career out of doing the thing that I love. Mm-hmm. And after this decision was made, and I thought, right, I'm going to drop out. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out of uni. And what am I doing? And when I did that I believe that was my signal to the universe. That was, right, you mean business now. You want to be a hypnotherapist. You don't want to be a counsellor. You want to be a hypnotherapist. And as soon as I'd made that decision, within a couple of weeks, I'd handed my notice in at work. Mm-hmm. I had started business coaching. And all of a sudden, I had this huge turnaround. And what I'm trying to get is that when we lead from our heart, when we go and lean into what you want to do, like you were saying, you leaning into what makes you happy, everything that you actually want starts to come to fruition. It's that you start to manifest that, because that is your signal to the universe saying, hey, this is me. This mm-hmm. is what I want. This is what mm-hmm. I want to welcome. Mm-hmm. But I do also understand that there are lots of decisions that, can turn whole worlds upside down.
Yep.
Did you want to say anything,
Yeah,
Brie?
there's a lot I can say on this. Well, first thing that I wanted to say was like, you know, when it comes to making these big decisions like this and when you're really torn on what to do, like you were saying, if you're a people pleaser, you need to really sit back and be like, how much of these thoughts are actually mine? How
Mm-hmm.
much of these desires are actually mine? Or is it just
Yeah.
because I'm doing it for somebody else? Or because I
Mm-hmm.
think that somebody else wants me to do this, so I'm gonna do
Yeah,
it. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, you have to live for you.
you do.
That's the only way that you're gonna really, feel the way that you want to feel, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny that this topic came up because I did record an episode back when I was recording them,
Mm-hmm.
um, called When Life Throws You a Curveball.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically all about like when you're heading one way and you think, you want this one thing and you're working towards it, and it's like, you really genuinely believe that you want it. Um, and then something just comes up and it makes you question everything. And you're like, wait, do I want this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I even think that I want this? Because,
Mm.
and then you like have to zoom out, like we were saying last week, zoom out of the situation and assess everything. Because my example is when, again, see, this is
Yeah.
going to be a consistent topic, but basically, when I was making the decision to start my business and start this podcast,
Uh-huh.
um, it was because like I genuinely like at the time, because I had made the decision to have my own business, I committed to that decision. But, and that's fine, like I'm still committed to having my own business, but I was committing to also doing it the way I initially set out to do it.
Yeah.
And it was just proving to me, no matter what I was doing, how hard I was working, that it just wasn't right. Like it was not meshing well with me
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
the way that I am and the way that I actually wanted to feel in my day-to-day life. And that forced me to take a step back because I was like, I'm doing
Yeah.
all of this so that I can, relax, so that I can have my freedom of time, so that I can have my peace of mind. And this is causing me more stress than if I was at a job.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell am I doing? That was basically the point that I came to. And I was like, why did I even do any of this?
Mm.
Because at that point it became so clear that it just wasn't right for me. And there were so many signs along the way that were trying to tell me that, but I had like these blockers on. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
just going for it and I was going to make it work no matter what. And it just was never meant to be. And so it kind of like came at a left field for me of like, hold on, haha, maybe you don't actually want this thing that you really think that you want.
Uh-huh.
It was more about I wanted what I thought it could give me. It
Yes.
had nothing to do with the actual thing. It had to do with what I thought it could give me.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't going to give me that because it wasn't right for me. And so that's when I made
And
that decision.
and your point of saying, you know, we really must come back to our why. This is so important in life. When you are at a crossroads, if you I'm wondering if a lot of people can relate to if you've maybe, whatever decision, it maybe you're stuck with something now, and have you ever had that kind of feeling that you really want to go one way, and that's that that deep down, but that way is the most terrifying way. However, that way is probably the way that's going to bring you more happiness after a moment of chaos, other than taking the path that is the easiest and the one that feels more comfortable.
And like
Um,
logical.
yeah, and I think how I think of this is, I know I'm not going to mention it, but I know someone, at the moment who is at a crossroads in their relationship, and I can really relate to this, where I've thought, I need to go, but the thought of leaving and creating a bit of an upheaval is really terrifying, you know? And that is definitely something that really hits me, you know, like it really hits me in the feels, like where you're in a relationship that you may be happy in, but not as happy as you probably know that you could be, or there's something, you know, that doesn't feel right. However, you stick around because it's easy that way, and it means, you know, maybe financially you'll be okay, or maybe you don't want to move home or move city, or, you know, whatever that is. What I would suggest in any kind of situation like that, where you really know, and like I said, we all have that inner wisdom, don't we? We all have that inner guidance that really niggles at us and says, something's not right here, something's not right, you need to take this road. But a lot of us can remain stuck, feeling unhappy or feeling very unfulfilled if we stay in the same place. So my kind of advice or guidance on that would be to always come back to yourself, find some time in the day to kind of sit and ground yourself and really listen to that voice inside, even if you don't like it, because sometimes you won't like that voice. However, if it's pushing you in one direction that feels absolutely excruciatingly terrifying, however, you know that in the long run you'll be okay, sometimes it's worth the leap, you know?
It's always worth the leap, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well,
Always.
yeah, it
Even
is always worth the leap.
yeah, even though, you know, when I made that decision to, you know, do the business model that I decided to do, even though it didn't work out, it was still a huge win for me in a way, because it was kind of like, how do I phrase this? It's like there were many times before that moment where I had
Mm-hmm.
a good business idea and I wanted to pursue it and I didn't. So just by me actually following through, even though it didn't work out, it was a really huge win for me because I pushed past that fear of actually starting it, you know, and that
Yeah.
fear of
Yeah.
it not working out, because it already didn't really work out. But
Yeah.
in the end, it does, because now I have, like, you know, the skill and the confidence and the knowledge to actually do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
everything
Exactly.
works out.
I
And
just want to read. Oh, sorry. Carry
no,
on.
it's okay. Go ahead. No, read it.
I just wanted to read something that really sticks out that comes with the guidebook of this card, and it says, "Avoid the tendency to let others choose for you, which amounts to a subtle refusal to take responsibility. Don't give your
Mhm.
power away. By not making a choice, you're making a choice." And I really love that. By not making a choice, you are making a choice. You're making a choice to stay
Mhm.
in a place that you don't feel that is fulfilling you.
Mhm. And it's funny that that came up, because I did post a TikTok this week that was talking about taking back your power is really, you know, in order to do that, you have to take full and complete responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
Because even if, you know, someone's actions or someone did something to you, you still made the choice to respond to it the way you did. You still made the choice to, you know, hold on to the negative feelings of it the way that you
Yeah.
did. And it's like, you at the end of the day have the choice, and every choice you make is essentially whether you're going to keep your power or if you're going to throw it away.
Mm,
And especially in times when you're faced with making a big decision, for me as well, I've had many times where I gave my power away by seeking others' advice or others' approval or others' opinions, because at the end of the day, the only opinion that really matters is your own.
Yeah.
And when you go and you seek outside of yourself for an answer, you're giving your power away because you already
Completely.
know everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
It's
And we
just,
are in,
yeah.
I think, like, with that, like you said, having ownership of our feelings and thoughts and decisions is so important, because I think there are many things in society that teach us not to take ownership and not to take responsibility. We live in such a blame. We have such a blame culture. You know, you see it everywhere, and that's the subtle conditioning that we don't need to take ownership of ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
you you can sue people for things. You know, make a claim if
Yeah.
if someone, you know, if something happens, and it's there's such a blame culture. And yeah, like you said, when you don't take ownership and you don't take responsibility, you are completely leaving your power, and it's time to step back, take it. Whether it if that decision, if you are at a fork in the road right now, and you're only at a fork in the road because somewhere you have had some intuition, you've had a thought that has made you think about taking another path. And that is your gentle nudge. That's your gentle nudge to say, go for it. There's no time like the present. If something is coming up for you and you are receiving these messages, or you're feeling these feelings,
They're there
that
for a
probably,
reason.
they're there for a reason. That means, you know, it's time to do it. Or you can stay in the same place for as long as possible, and it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel good.
Yep. And yeah, when it comes to taking ownership and like shifting the blame away from everybody else, it's like, and sorry, and back to this whole society thing is like
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of people, like, you don't realize that by saying that, oh, well, this happened to me, so that's why the way I am, or that's how I
Mm-hmm.
am the way I am. By doing that, by simply saying that and believing that,
Mm.
you're completely disempowering yourself
Yeah.
because you're just, you know, adopting an identity around your own issues,
Mm.
and that's not going to help you work through them by just simply
Mm.
throwing in the towel and saying, well, this happened to me, so now my life's shit and it's
Yeah.
always going to be shit. And it's like, okay, well, great, now it will
Mm.
be shit because you keep saying that it's so shit.
What you
When
put
like
out comes back to you.
you have the choice to be like, hey, this happened, this affected me, like, absolutely, I'm not saying don't be affected by things,
Mm-hmm.
but also don't use them, to keep yourself down. These
Don't
are
use
all
it to.
things that are meant to help you, like, take it and like
Mm.
process it and say, hey, this happened, I validate myself, I accept, the way that this is making me feeling, but I also acknowledge that I don't have to always feel this way, I don't have to hold on to this feeling, I don't have to, completely change my perspective or, the trajectory of my life based off of this one event.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to stay in victim mode. You are not human to be a victim. You are
Mhm.
not living this human experience to live as a victim. You are supposed to be here and empowered
Mhm.
to, look at what we have. Look at, there are so many opportunities and sources of help and community, and
Mhm.
there's so much out there if we just expand our minds, or allow ourselves to expand our minds.
Mhm.
And something you said about when some people say, oh, this is the way I am, that is usually conditioning from other people.
Mhm.
When people say this is the way I am, they've heard that from somewhere, and you don't have to stay that way. You do not have to stay the way you are. if
Yeah.
it doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe it does
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable. And you know what? It takes a lot of looking inside and acknowledging
Mm-hmm.
certain aspects of yourself to see
Yeah,
what actually holds you back and what keeps you in your comfort zone.
definitely. I know, like, for myself, like, the whole reason that I can even, speak on these things and communicate these thoughts and feelings and conclusions is because I've been through it already. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
had that victim mindset. I've had that lack mindset where,
Mm-hmm.
like, for me, a big sort of shift is like, well, I don't come from money, so I can't make money because I don't have that advantage. And it's like, that's just not true.
No, it's not.
It's not true at all. And there are a billion examples of people who have come from nothing and have made something.
There are so many money mindset blocks, ones that I'm working through on myself as well. And we hear it in everyday language, don't we?
Hmm.
Oh, only the rich get rich. Oh, it's because they have money.
Or
And
they have connections, or they like have
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and it's like, okay, well, go out and make your connections,
yeah,
you
do
know?
it. You've got to step out there and actually make shit happen for yourself.
Hmm. Definitely. And I think too, it's like, it's a tough subject to say that, like, you have the choice, because a lot of people genuinely feel that they don't.
Yeah,
And, there can be times when you might not have the outward choice, like, let's say you're in a really bad living situation
yeah,
and you literally, like, physically cannot leave because you don't have money or you don't have, somewhere to go or anything like
yeah.
that. But it's like the mind doesn't really know the difference between the external. So you
It
can
doesn't.
still mentally choose that you're not going to be like, let your surroundings affect you
Mm.
internally. And yeah, I just wanted to speak on that because I know that some people can get a little bit defensive about that, especially
Yeah,
if you're, a victim of like a hate crime or a victim of, you know, racial profiling or something like, maybe
yeah,
you
yeah,
were sexually assaulted, like those things.
yeah.
Obviously, no one chooses for those things to happen to them.
Absolutely not. And I honestly, absolutely not. However, there there is help. There is there's a choice to choose to take one step, even if it's the smallest little step out of a situation that may be very threatening, very life threatening.
Hmm.
And there is, there's always the one tiny step that you can take to move further away from where you don't want to be. And that can take courage, it takes bravery. However, we are never stuck in one situation, even if you think you are.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Even if it's like a mental escape, like
Mm.
something that I think when I first really started working on like my mindset and understanding. Oh my god, my dog is barging in 1 second.
We've both had dog issues today. Our dogs think they just run the show. Oh, Brie, I've just realised you've got sunflowers all over your jumper. I love
Oh
sunflowers.
yeah, there's yeah. Well, it's just a sun, but yeah.
Oh, it's sun.
Yes, I love the sun, and my phone also has the sun card as the case.
I love it. I had a dream that I was getting the sun card tattooed on me.
Oh, nice. I'd love that as a tattoo as well.
For those who are wondering if we're talking about cards, we're talking about tarot cards. There's a card in the tarot. If you're not aware, it's the sun card, and we both
Yes.
love that.
But anyways,
And
when I
yeah,
started getting into like shifting my mindset and understanding like energy, that is what like really, really helped me because I was realizing that, oh my god, can you hear my dog? I hope not.
I can.
Oh, Ebony.
We could definitely do a
Digging
full,
her
you
face in
know,
the ground.
a full series on energy and tapping into the energy around us and
Yeah.
universal, all
Yeah,
the universal energy that's around us.
because when you're in a situation where you genuinely feel like you're stuck, I'm very familiar with that. Um, like the best thing that you can do is like separate yourself from the external,
Yeah.
essentially. Because for me, I like the most empowering thing was realizing like I have a choice. I can
Mm.
choose whether I want to take on this other person's energy or if I want to just let it bounce right off of me. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people, especially when you're a people pleaser, you subconsciously are taking on the energies and you don't notice it. And that's
Mm.
when things feel like they're out of control, is because you're holding on to so much more than you have to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like just creating that barrier and saying, like, I am in control of this and this only. And by controlling this and making sure I'm good, everything else is fine,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because somebody could, come in, hit you or whatever. But if you're taking care of the inside, you're like, it's fine, I'll recover. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're going to keep
Yeah.
going. But if you're like, oh my God, this person like just charged at me, this person, you know, did this to me, then you're now extending onto what they did.
Mm.
And you're not focused solely on just what you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so making
And
that
that makes it
distinction.
hard, doesn't it? We hold on to these things. We hold on, and it becomes like an attachment. But that's, do you know what? That's a whole different. That's a whole different.
I
That's a
know.
whole different podcast. And I'm looking at the time now.
I
It's gone
know.
so
Somehow we always end up
quickly.
just talking and talking, talking, and then it goes from one thing to something on like complete. And we're like, how did we get here?
How did we get here? Are you happy to kind of round things up here?
Sure.
Did you have other things that I was
Um,
just going to?
well, I did get some cards that came out that I kind of
Oh, did
wanted.
you?
Yeah.
Go on
I
then.
have the Empress, which in this one is like a tree, which kind of goes
Ooh.
back to when you were saying, to ground yourself, which
Mm,
some people might not really know what that means. It took me a while to really learn what grounding means. And basically what it means is like to basically return back to yourself. You
back to
know,
the present. Back
yeah.
to the present moment.
Yeah, like
Because we're.
let go of all the, thoughts floating in your mind, all the, problems that you have to figure out a solution for, and
Mm-hmm,
like just be with yourself.
mm,
Because when you quiet all of that, everything is so much more clear. Like you
yeah.
have to think in this actually in one of my decks, there's cards that have crows, and that's kind of, symbolizing our thoughts. So it's like when you have all these crows cawing around you, it's hard to even think and to hear
Mm.
yourself and to figure things out. But when you
It's hard.
ground
Yeah.
yourself, they all go away. Everything is calm. You can think
Mm-hmm,
straight. You can see clearly. And that's how you can really listen to yourself and understand what your heart and your soul wants to actually do versus what your logical brain is saying that you should do.
mm. And when you tune into your intuition, when you have managed to kind of ground yourself and bring yourself back to the present moment, think of mindfulness, that kind of not looking in the past or worrying about the future, in the here and now, listening to your breath. This is where I am. Your intuition is so much more clear when you quieten all of the chaos and the clamor and the noise of everything else that's going on, of your ego, which is, the part of you that's very loud. It's the part of you that's usually very fear fueled. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's very important to ground yourself so you are able to make a decision that is led from the heart.
Mhm.
And essentially, if you lead from the heart, if you follow and lean into what feels good for you, what and maybe like I said, those big decisions that are the ones that are really scary, but you really know in the long run everything's going to be so much better. If you can just kind of quieten things down and, find the courage to take that leap.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't
It's
have to
always
be
going to.
it doesn't have to be a huge leap, you don't have to
No,
like
no,
completely shut off what you're doing and go full force
no,
into
no.
anything. You can, figure out what's comfortable for you, but it's like
Mm,
anything that's going to make progress is progress.
yeah,
Whether that's deciding that you're going to go from a full-time job to a part-time job, or if you're still going to do your full-time job, but you're also going to start dabbling in this other thing that you want to do.
yeah.
Like I don't want to endorse everybody just quitting their job. Some
No,
people that does work,
no.
but for some people it definitely can be catastrophic.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I just want to
Gotta
iterate
think
that.
logically. You gotta think
Yeah. You can
logically,
still
and
think
yeah,
logically, but also just like listen and follow your heart. And another thing I
yeah,
wanted to say as well is like, how do you clear your thoughts? Because that seems to be the issue for a lot of people. They're like, okay, everyone's telling me to
yeah.
like clear my thoughts, but
Play
how
my
the hell do I
thoughts.
do that? And it's like, well, the main thing that you can do, and this is what I did, was meditate. And the key thing for me when it comes to meditation is that the only thing you should be focusing your attention on is your breathing, and that's it.
That's it.
You're just, breathing in, and you're focusing your attention on your breath, and you're breathing out. And then you're focusing and you're feeling it in your body, going through your nose to your lungs, all the way down to your stomach, and then out.
Mm.
That's it.
I think it's really important to note as well that meditation definitely requires practice, because not everybody
100%.
can sit down and just, sit and breathe. And that doesn't feel natural for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, because we are so on the go
Mm-hmm.
and we're very used to a busy lifestyle. It's definitely a muscle that needs working. It's like a muscle. Like I use that example a lot. Meditation requires practice. It requires consistent practice. Even if you just start with 1 minute a
Not
day.
even minutes. Even if you just say,
Yeah,
even if you just take 3 deep breaths, like
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
try that right now if you have the time to. Well,
Mm.
you should have the time to take breaths, but like, you know, whenever
But
you're
conscious
faced
breaths.
whenever you're faced with something that's making you go into panic mode, it's making you overthink and go into overdrive, literally just stop, take 3 deep breaths, and notice how things change. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like a dramatic change, but like, you'll notice that you don't feel these feelings anymore.
Mm.
And you
Mm.
can see things more clearly. Like literally last night, I was attending an intuition workshop, and we were asked to like go through past emotions and past experiences and like figure out basically where things are linking and why we feel the way we feel. And after like writing through that stuff, it was like I noticed it was hard for me to really focus. I felt like I was only giving like a small percentage of my attention to what I was doing. And then after I literally took like 3 breaths, and then I was like boop, like back in focus mode, and like
Mm.
all other thoughts were gone, and I was just focusing on what I was doing. And it just makes such a huge difference, and it's so simple. Like it's not
Mm.
even like you don't even have to go buy anything to do this. You literally just
No.
breathe.
Just sit with your feet firmly on the floor, or sit on the floor if you
Or lay
can get.
down. I like to lay
Or lay
down.
down. Yeah, if you can get somewhere in nature, even better. Get brownie
Mhm.
points for that. And
Nature
it
is
just,
the best.
yeah, it is. And I just find that it helps that you might want to put a hand on your chest or on your stomach and just feel that rise and fall,
Mhm.
and just really tune into that kind of, that gentle, it's like a flowing, relaxation, isn't it?
Mhm.
And yeah, it's great for tuning in and coming back to yourself.
Yes. It's great for also just like returning to yourself, but also like returning to your true nature and your nurturing energy. I feel like when you're really go, 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 and this actually, I was just talking to a friend about this. It's like you can get so caught up in your emotions and your thoughts and, your wants and needs and the ways that you're falling up short. And you forget that it's not that serious,
Yeah.
you know? And when you just breathe and take a second, you can be like, okay, you know what though? Like, I actually still accept myself regardless of these feelings, like I still, love myself. I think self-love again is kind of the starting point for all of these types of healing work, because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to make that decision to leave that crap situation. You're not going to
Yeah.
make that decision to actually chase after something that, could potentially make you so much happier. If you don't
Yeah.
love yourself,
Yeah.
and you're not going to have the patience to, deal with the, when things are slow and there's not much progress being seen, or, you keep running into the same blocks and issues. And it's like, if you don't love yourself, it's going to make that so much harder to work through because you're not giving yourself that compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just felt like that was
Absolutely.
important. Yes,
We've got a
Emily,
message,
literally what
Emily.
we were saying. You're the only one that you have.
Yeah, you are with you for life. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I think self-love for a lot of us is a work in progress. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. It
Well,
is
we're not really taught
something
to self-love
we're
either.
not.
We're
We're
just
not,
taught to be
unfortunately.
productive and to be good robots.
Work, 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 work.
Yes. And if you can't produce something, you're worthless. And
Yeah.
that's not true.
No, it's not. It's not. So if you are struggling with, if you are at a fork in the road, if you are maybe struggling with certain decisions, feel free to contact myself or Bree to let us know.
Oh, yeah. If you have any questions right now, feel free to drop them before we end the stream, because we'd love to answer them. I keep forgetting to mention that. If you ever have questions, put them in the chat.
Definitely put them in the chat. But yeah, I think that rounds us up.
Yeah, we
quite nicely for today.
I think so too. I honestly don't even remember what we just said. I kind of was like,
I never do. And do you know what? We're new to this, and again, consistency.
Consistency is key. Because even doing from last week, I made notes of, okay, this week I want to work on fixing the audio, and I want to, make it shorter so that it's not as long, and over time we'll get it good.
We will, and we have to start somewhere, and that's the same for all of you out there. You have an idea, run with it, and work out how you're going to do it while you're doing it. I think that's quite good advice that someone gave me once, and it definitely shifts you out of a certain place to get somewhere else.
Yes, and also release, attachment to the way it has to be done.
Yes. Do you know, I was going to say that before. I can't remember where it was in the past 40 minutes, but there was something about, I felt like I needed to say, try and detach from the outcome of whatever it is, because we always forward think, and our mind likes to tell us what's going to happen, even though a lot of the time it's a load of rubbish.
And or even you can have your vision of how you want it to turn out, what you want it to look like, but don't get attached to the way it has to come to fruition, because things can happen in so many different ways. The way that we're doing this podcast right now was not my first, second, third thought.
No.
It was kind of you run into a problem. Okay, what are the options that I can pursue to get around this? Okay. And then it's this. And then eventually you come across something that works and that is functioning for you. But if you keep trying to force something that doesn't work, trust me, I've done that a million times in my life. You're just going to go insane.
Yeah, and you're going to end up with the same, going round in circles, repeating the same patterns and probably
burning yourself out. Like,
exactly.
It's not a good time.
Exactly. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you are listening to this after the live, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, it'd be really, really good to hear from you. And like we said, if you have any questions or any kind of themes that you'd like us to go with in the future, we'd be so open to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if there's anything you're struggling with at the moment, I am a qualified hypnotherapist and counsellor. And you know, Bree is just absolutely amazing and
How do you
so
say
wise.
Bree is just a person?
No, you are. I was just saying, you are so wise. You are so wise beyond your years, girl. I'm telling you.
I know, it's
so hard.
It's tough being me. What can I say?
But yeah, we would love to talk to you. And like we said, if there's any struggles you're going through, drop us a message. Catch us on our Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Evolve Hypnotherapy.
Yes, everything is linked. Yeah. It should be. At least on YouTube, everything is linked. So it should be easy.
Bree sorts all this out for me.
Yeah, I'm the tech gal.
I'm a bit of a technophobe.
It works out great. You see?
It does.
You see, imagine if we both kept trying to just do it on our own.
Exactly.
And like instead, ta-da.
Yeah, I was supposed to do this last year and I just never did it, did I?
Same.
So yeah, we work well
together. Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Right. Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you everybody who came. And if also, I want to say, if there's a part of the podcast that really stuck out to you or that's like your favorite little moment or quote, feel free to share it online and like tag us.
Love that.
Mine is Butterfly Bree 444. Hers is Evolve Hypnotherapy. Tag us. We can see it. We can share it. We can love it. And that would be really fun.
Yeah, cool. But for now,
adios.
Peace out.
Okay, bye everybody. Have a good day.